So it's not quite been a month since I last posted a video about the last VHS pickup that I had. But over the last few weeks I've been thrifting and I had a couple things sent to me here and there. And I think I got some really cool stuff. I got some Laserdisc, of course VHS tapes. I found some Super Nintendo games out thrifting, a computer game that caught my interest. So I thought there was enough here to make a cool video, or at least show some things that I thought was cool. So let me get into it and I'll show you guys what I got. So let me start off with the Laserdiscs that I got. I ordered these online. You know, my family was putting together a list of their top 10 favorite movies, and I was like, oh, you know what? I don't know what my top 10 list would be. And I was thinking about it, and one movie that came to mind that, I don't know if it's number one, but it's definitely at the top, Leon the Professional. I have it on VHS, but I felt like I needed to get it on Laserdisc. And Laserdisc isn't something that I really collect for. I have a couple, a small Laserdisc collection, but I decided to order Leon on Laserdisc. And not only did I get this Laserdisc of Leon, I got the director's cut as well, Japanese import, because I just thought the cover was so cool. I think Gary Oldman gives, one of the best performances of all time in that movie. I just think it's so great. I can't say enough good things about it. So a couple other things that I had sent to me. Let me just show this tape off. Beyblade. So I liked Beyblades as a kid. I had them. I had like the little arena, and me and my friends would get together. We would, let it rip and, battle with each other for a little bit. That was, I was at that age where this was starting, just came out in the US, was becoming popular. I was recently thinking about all the, and I don't really have a good word for it, I guess the adjacent Pokemon shows. So you think of maybe like Digimon, Metabots, Monster Rancher, and I have all those in my collection. And I was like, you know what? I don't have a Beyblade. And that's, something that I actually watched. I played the PS1 game as a kid, so I felt like I really needed to get this in my collection. I have a list of, I'm starting to like narrow it down as far as like what are VHS tapes that are must-haves for my collection, and Beyblade was on there, so it was one thing to check off. Evil Dead. I have the second one. I have Army of Darkness. I didn't have the first one on VHS, so I had to pick that up. This is a series that I really love. I think Army of Darkness, I think a lot of my humor comes from that movie, from seeing it as a kid. Another movie that's almost in the same vein is Dead Alive. This is another film that I absolutely loved as a kid, and it's so wacky. I played it, or I gave it to my wife when I was younger to watch. She had an operation and she had to, be home for a few weeks while she was recovering. And, we were just friends at the time. And I made her a box of some of my DVDs. And she watched this movie. And she was like totally weirded out by it. Okay, so everything else beyond those few movies, this is all thrift store finds, things that I found in the wild. And I think there's some really cool stuff here. Obviously because I picked it up, but I think regardless. So, first, this was actually, we'll call it a digital or a virtual thrift, because my sister-in-law in Tennessee, she was at the thrift store, and she sent me a picture of the VHS section. She's like, hey, is there anything cool here? And they had Digimon. Now, I have a few Digimon tapes, but I said, hey, yeah, why not? Grab me Digimon. And there was something else that I said I thought it was cool as well, but the tape inside wasn't the right tape. So she's like, I'm not gonna get it. And I always forget to check that myself. I get so excited, I grab it, then I get home, and I open it, and I'm like, oh, it's not the right tape. A Little Bear, the movie, or The Little Bear movie. So this was, I was curious if it was an orange tape, it's black. I've been watching some of my VHS tapes in my Nick collection, and, you know, I keep seeing previews for this movie, so when I saw this out, I felt like I kind of have to get it. Now this next tape, I feel like I kind of remember it, but not really. Our Friend Martin, which is a Martin Luther King time travel movie. And, you know, it's so 90s. This was, you know, released as, I think, like a Fox Kids special or something. I'm pretty sure it was broadcasted on that channel. Now, next tape, a little R.L. Stine, but not Goosebumps. The Nightmare Room, and with Amanda Bynes, no less. So, I don't think I actually ever watched this series as a kid. Definitely Goosebumps. I've talked about Goosebumps plenty before, but The Nightmare Room, I don't think I watched this. So this looks pretty interesting. I'm gonna hold on to this and definitely watch it, add it to the collection, and looks like a cool tape. Toonsylvania. So this is a Steven Spielberg actually series that ran on Fox Kids. It looks pretty interesting. It reminds me of Monster Bash or Monster Mash, whatever that movie was. Kind of like that movie Igor that came out, that animated movie. And you know, I'm hoping that this is in the same vein as like Tiny Toons and it's with Steven Spielberg. But looks really interesting. I can't say that I watched it as a kid when it was on TV. So this will be fun to revisit. Maybe I'll have like kind of like I don't know, almost like a spooky weekend or something. I'll watch The Nightmare Room. I'll watch Toonsylvania, Dead Alive, Evil Dead. It'll be fun. Son-in-Law. I decided why not pick it up. Now next, this isn't even the first time that I found a complete collection like this, but Rocky 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I'm still on the fence. Maybe I'll keep it, maybe not. I would definitely like to have the first Rocky for sure. Do I need all 5? I don't know. You know, everything around me, I don't need to hold on to everything. I had this movie already, but Daredevil. I keep saying I'm done with Scooby-Doo, and I keep picking up more Scooby-Doo tapes. So, Scooby-Doo Wedding Bell Blues. You know, I keep finding all these Scooby-Doo movies that, you know, I look at online, because I go online and say, you know, let me look at all the Scooby-Doo releases and see what I don't have. And this was one that I saw, and I was like, oh, I like the alliteration, Wedding Bell Blues. So, I had wanted to pick it up, and I just happened to find it out at the thrift store, so I was like, hey, it's meant to be. The Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog. I mean, how cool is that to find that out at a thrift store? Now, I do have a few Sonic VHS tapes, so I'm on the fence if I'm going to keep this in my collection. Maybe I'll pass it on to someone else. I'll have to see. Next tape is the Berenstain Bears, and I actually had them in my collection, and I ended up giving them away over time. And lately, I was thinking about it. I was like, you know, I kind of should have a Berenstain Bears tape in the collection. So when I saw this, I was like, great, I'll add it back to the collection. You know, I had picked up the Game Boy Advance game. What is it? Extreme Sports with the Berenstain Bears. Very funny. Totally doesn't seem like it fits the IP, but that's kind of the charm of it. So happy to have that game, and you know, happy to have this VHS tape. Tombstone, great movie, incredible performance by Val Kilmer. JJ the Jet Plane. I had this tape previously, well, not this one in particular, but I had JJ in the collection, and I gave it away at some point, and it's kind of weird. There's something weird about these, what would you call it, anthropomorphic planes almost. I have no idea what this is, but it looked too cool or too creepy to leave behind. The Parables of Peter Rabbit. So Double Jeopardy, great movie. Tommy Lee Jones, really liked it, so adding it to the collection. The Big Hit. Don't know what it's about, but saw young Mark Wahlberg, thought it would be interesting to check out the film. Next, I got a big box Shrek. This was giving me like Costco, Sam's Club vibes, and it's pretty cool. I had the clamshell as a kid, and I have it again now. I added it later to my collection, but I saw this big box, and I don't typically go for the big boxes, but I thought it was interesting enough to pick up, so it'll go into the collection. Twins with Schwarzenegger and Danny DeVito. I remember watching this as a kid, and I haven't seen it since, so why not go back and watch it on VHS? Meet the Parents, another great comedy. Basic Instinct, another classic. More Scooby-Doo. So this one is kind of cool though. It's Scooby-Doo, the Ghoul, the Bat, and the Ugly, and To Switch a Witch. And it's a Toys R Us exclusive. So how cool is that? Dinosaurs. So I had picked up the Super Nintendo game recently, and I had this as a clamshell at one point, and I must have gotten rid of it. So we're rounding out the VHS tapes now. We got this big box Teletubby Christmas VHS tapes. Really cool. You kind of like unfold it. You have these two different green and red Christmas colored VHS tapes inside. So I do have Teletubbies already in my collection. I have one tape. It's not a show I was, overly affectionate about, but I saw this. I thought it was really cool. Wanted to grab it so I could pass it along to someone else. Inspector Gadget. Definitely wanted this represented in my collection, and I had passed on a couple tapes recently because I just thought they were a little too pricey. But I saw this at the thrift store, and it's like perfect. I was looking for this, or at least wanted it in the collection anyway, so this was the perfect pickup for me. Then these last two, Power Rangers Time Force. Now, I don't think I ever watched Power Rangers Time Force. I mean, yeah, this was 2001, so definitely wouldn't have watched it. My recollection of Power Rangers is Mighty Morphin. I probably watched Zeo. I remember a bit of Turbo. Space was in there at some point, but it gets really blurry. I really remember Morphin the most, and that's the series that I really loved. And when everyone was still dressing up as the Zeo characters for Halloween, I just wanted to be the Morphin characters. I just thought they were the coolest. Okay, so some Super Nintendo games that I found at the thrift, which is, I usually never find Super Nintendo games, and if I do, they're usually like so overpriced. The the one thrift store by me, like the standard like Mario Bros and Duck Hunt combo NES game, they're like always selling for like $40. So their prices are just terrible, but they had these thrown out on the shelf, and they're not like totally desirable games, but I thought, why not pick it up for my Super Nintendo collection? NBA Showdown, Super Play Action Football, Royal Rumble, NBA Live 96, and Tecmo Super Bowl. And most of these came with like the dust protector, so that's cool. I think I paid like maybe $4 for these. So there were a couple of games that I did leave behind. I just, they didn't do anything for me, but I thought those were pretty cool. Why not add them to the collection? I don't really collect computer games. I've got a few computer games as gifts. NASCAR Racers, which I talked about in my last VHS video. My friend had given me that as a gift for Christmas a few years ago. He found it at a thrift store. And he was like, oh, I think you would like this. And he was right, I did like it. But I saw this, I thought, man, this is pretty cool. Nicktoons Basketball. It has Rugrats, Fairly Odd Parents, Rocket Power, and All Grown Up, rather, and not the Rugrats. SpongeBob. I don't know, I'm so intrigued by this game. I can't wait to pop it in and check it out and see what it's about. SpongeBob, Tommy from All Grown Up, Sheen, Timmy, Patrick, Tak from Tak and the Power of Juju, Goddard, AJ, Jimmy, Wanda, Cosmo, Reggie, Squidward, Cindy, Danny Phantom, and Jenny from My Life as a Teenage Robot, and Sandy, awesome. So, a pretty good cast of Nicktoon characters for, you know, a 2000s era game. I really like the Mario games. I like the Disney Sport games. So I saw this. I was like, this is pretty cool. So I wanted it for my collection. I'm trying to get myself set up with a Windows XP setup. I actually had got a computer that was going to be dedicated to that, and I pulled it to use for parts for my Fast and Furious arcade. I'm rebuilding one of those, and, you know, oops, I pulled it for that. But at one point, I'm going to have a dedicated XP setup. And, you know, I don't, maybe it'll be XP or maybe it'll be Windows 98. I feel like XP probably has a wider range in application, but I would love to have like a period correct, like 98 with like Voodoo graphic cards and things like that. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. So guys, that's all I got. I have to go and try to find where I'm going to put all this stuff. I think it's some interesting pickups. You guys will have to let me know what you think. But, you know, this stuff really connected with me. So happy to have it. And whether I pass it on or it stays in my collection, I'm sure it'll be with someone who enjoys it. So hope you guys liked the video, and I'll see you next time.